Hi, this is Cherie J. Wilson, and you are listening to TV Confidential.
I'm out of here.
Why are you being secretive? The only times you are, it's bad. I thought those days were behind us.
Okay, well, I'd like to be someplace where I want to be.
Ed Robertson with a reminder that the next edition of TV Confidential will premiere next week on this station at the usual time. Music journalist A. Scott Galloway will join us for a special remembrance of Grammy Award-winning and Emmy Award-winning producer and composer Quincy Jones. In the meantime, on the line with us right now as we close out this week's program is director and producer Nick Leisure. Nick began his career directing hundreds of commercials for such major brands and networks as ABC, Toyota, Nike, Ray-Ban, and the Sacramento Kings, as well as many music videos for such artists as Babyface, After Seven, Too Short, and Corrupt before making the transition into feature motion pictures. His latest effort, the action thriller Golden, stars Brian Austin Green and is now available for viewing on demand on many streaming platforms. Golden tells the story of a struggling print shop worker who discovers that he can create flawless counterfeit money only to be pulled into a dangerous cross-border criminal world that he cannot escape. Golden, as we say, now available viewing on demand, all major streaming platforms. Nick Leisure, welcome to TV Confidential.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Golden had a big premiere last week in Los Angeles. Last week, as we record this conversation, I know enough filmmakers to know it's very difficult to get anything made these days. So the fact that you got it made and is now available for people to enjoy, those are both very good things. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate the support.
What led you to make this film?
I've been knocking out films after films the last few years, and this story came up as inspired by a true story. A friend of mine, his father it was based on his actual true story, and I thought that this would be a really cool, story to tell as a film. And I've done a previous movie with Brian Austin Green called Last of the Night that's on streaming as well. And so when this story popped up, I contacted Brian and said, hey, I got something else for you. Let's go to Mexico and shoot a movie.
You just anticipated one of my other questions. I've talked to enough actors to know that if you have an opportunity to work with either another actor that you worked before or if you work with a director that you worked before, one of the big advantages of that is because you've already worked before, you have a shorthand, you know how each other works, you don't have to worry about that sort of business when the red light goes on because you know how each other works, so you just concentrate on doing what you both need to do. What are your thoughts about that? I mean, has that been your experience with Brian and some of the other actors you worked more than once with?
Yeah, I think the first time you work with somebody and you don't really know them, you're always trying to feel things out. You don't know if a certain actor is going to have, humor, or they're going to be super, strict about how they work on set, or they're going to be more fun. So I think after you break the ice a little bit and you work together on something, and Brian and I became really close friends too after that. So it was pretty easy to be able to work on set with him again and get him into the role that I wanted him to play on this.
Yeah, and at least based on the trailer of the film, you get a little glimpse of who Brian plays, the guy who plays, and you get a little bit of the in over his head part, so it does what a trailer should do. It makes you interested in the movie and gives you an idea of the tone of the movie and the type of character he plays.
Yes, I think, Brian, still has a lot of work to do as a actor in feature films, and what I mean by that is I think there's a lot of talent there that we haven't seen yet. I think that he's still got a lot of leading roles that he can do, and this was a completely different role than the last one that he did with me a few years ago. So I'd like to see him continue to grow and do more projects in different roles that you don't expect him to do, because a lot of people look at Brian as, the 90210 kid and television, and oftentimes it's hard to transition from television over into feature film world, and I think Brian's done a great job at it.
And Golden, for one, gives him an opportunity to, because he's basically a reluctant hero, or at least he gets involved in something that he realizes is bigger than he anticipates. And in the character he plays, there's a little bit of the oh my God elements, which creates moments of humor, which allows the viewer to kind of, exhale a little bit as they watch this action thriller.
Yeah, his character in this movie is really cool because he's, even though he's committing a crime in a sense and printing counterfeit money and crossing the border, you really start to follow his character and kind of root for him. You want him to figure it out in life, and you really want him to win in some kind of way.
Yes, I know we're in an era of anti-heroes, but it's nice to have a hero that you can root for. That hero is played by Brian Austin Green. Nick Leisure's on the line with us. Nick is the director of Golden, action thriller starring Brian Austin Green, as well as Mossy Furlan and Robert Miano, about a struggling print shop worker who discovers that he can create flawlessly counterfeit money only to be pulled into a dangerous cross-border criminal world that he cannot escape. Golden, now available streaming on demand, all major platforms. Nick, I'll tell you, one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you is because of your background directing commercials and music videos. Both those things require the ability to tell a complete story with a beginning, a middle, and an end in a very, very short amount of time. It takes skill to do that. It's not easy to do. What first led you to directing commercials and videos?
Yeah, I started initially shooting live stuff, so I did a lot of live concerts on tours with a lot of big bands back in the day, and that transitioned into me directing music videos for these artists, and ultimately the music videos were short stories for me to be able to tell, write up scripts and tell a story within 3 to 5 minutes. I think that's where I started to really hone in my skills on filmmaking and wanted to make it bigger.
How'd you come to work with the Kings?
I've been working with ABC, and I'd worked, doing a ton of commercials, and I lived up in Sacramento for most of my life. And so I'd moved around a couple times to LA and San Francisco and Marina del Rey and stuff like that, but majority of my life was in Sacramento, and so, you get to know, it's a small town, you get to know everybody, and so I started shooting some stuff for the Kings and a lot of different commercials for Nike, Ray-Ban, different stuff like that.
Well, those are good companies to work with, and if you could show that you could tell a story in a short amount of time, then at least when it comes to doing a full-length motion picture, you take what you've already learned and just expand it to the full length.
Yes.
Stay with us, folks. We'll be right back.
This portion of TV Confidential is brought to us by our friends at Front Porch Realty, the community of realtors in the Northern Bay area of California that is committed to finding the solution that is best for their clients. Whether you're a first-time home buyer or looking to sell or lease your property in Northern California, call Karen Strain at 415-886-7411 or visit frontporchrealtygroup.com for more information on how they can help you.
Ed Robertson, thanking you for listening to the TV Confidential podcast. If you like what you hear, please hit the subscribe button so that you won't miss our next episode.
Hello, this is Eric Braden. You're listening to TV Confidential.
Golden, available viewing on demand, all major streaming platforms. Nick Leisure, the director of Golden, on the line with us. How did you make the transition from short form storytelling to long form storytelling?
I think it just takes time. You gotta continue to tell stories. And in the beginning, I was telling short films and doing short films and putting them in the film festivals and winning some festivals, and then you start to take the leap and jump into feature film like stuff. And the first couple of feature films I did with virtually no budget, paying people with Subway sandwiches and stuff. And so different friends and family, different people to jump on board, and you make a pretty crappy film, and you just keep moving and you keep learning from it, and eventually you'll get a little bit of money and make a bigger one, and then hopefully you get more money and you make bigger ones, and it continues that way.
I'm laughing with you as you tell, sometimes you're paying people with Subway sandwiches, but it's like if you could get people to make that sort of commitment knowing that it's a small budget, They're not just doing it for you, they're doing it for themselves as well. And so they know that this can lead to bigger and better things. And it's, as we said in our open, it has to be gratifying to know that all the hard work and hours you did doing the small projects led to the bigger projects and the opportunity to direct full-length feature motion pictures.
Yeah, it is gratifying, and, especially when you're working so hard for nothing for so long. And when you finally get a shot, you just got to keep throwing stuff at the wall, though. Eventually something's going to stick. I think a lot of people get into this business and they make one film and they give up, and that's it. I think you got to continually make films. It's like if you're an artist and you're a vocal artist or something, and you're going to make one song and put it out and hope that it's going to hit the charts and make it big, right? You got to make an album. You got to make like 15 songs or something, and then you've got to create more albums, and so you just got to continue to make stuff, create. And I think the more that you do it, the better you're going to get. You're going to hone in your craft and get better at what you do. Eventually, people are going to pay attention.
The metaphor I like to use, Nick, is a baseball metaphor. If you're an artist, you have to dig in and keep swinging away, and eventually the ball is going to drop. And when the ball drops in play, anything can happen. But it's not going to happen unless you dig in and take your swings.
Correct. And you have to continue to swing even after you hit a base run. You got to keep swinging, right? So you get a homer. Keep going after that.
That's right. A homer or a base hit, whatever, as long as you put the ball in play, anything can happen. Nick Leisure on the line with us. Nick Leisure, a director and filmmaker whose cinematic style combines strong visual language with performance-driven storytelling and commercial pacing. His latest film, the action thriller Golden, stars Brian Austin Green of Beverly Hills 90210 and Knots Landing. Golden available for viewing on demand, many streaming platforms. I understand you have a couple other movies in the works. Nick, what can you tell us about those?
Yeah, I have 2 other films that are actually finished already. One with Michael Copon called New Year's Absolution that releases in July. And then I have The Last Bride with Charlotte Kirk. That one's going to release probably somewhere around the end of the year, early next year. And I've got a few other projects that are in development right now.
I saw Charlotte's last film about a year and a half ago, so it's also in the action thriller. Is there something about that genre that appeals to you? Is that the sort of movie you want to make more of, or are you open to all genres, all types of storytelling, depending on what the script is?
Yeah, I never want to be pigeonholed into just one genre, whether it's horror, thriller, action, comedy. It could even be a love story. I think it all starts with a great story. If it's a great story and, we're on the same page, and I think I'd love to tell the story.
Nick Leisure's latest film, Golden, starring Brian Austin Green, available streaming on demand, all major streaming platforms. Is there anything else about the movie that you'd like our listeners to know about that I haven't already asked you, Nick?
No, I think check out the movie and give us some 5 stars, 10 stars, whatever you can on it. We just really appreciate everybody's support. A lot of hard work went into making this movie here and abroad in Mexico. So, we really appreciate everybody checking out the movie.
Golden, now available, viewing on demand, all streaming platforms. Nick Leisure, thank you for spending part of your day with us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
A reminder that Finding Home, a memoir by Denise Nicholas, available wherever books are sold through Agate Publishing, AGATE, agatepublishing.com, as well as Amazon.com, while A Gathering of Voices, the Longwood Writers Workshop, available through bookbaby.com, Amazon.com, and longwoodwritersworkshop.com. Ed Robertson, Beth Tony Figueroa, Donna Allen, Phil Grice, and Susan Silver. Thank you so much for listening. Stay healthy, stay safe. Talk to you next time on TV Confidential.